Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We had a great question. Somebody asked if we could put a triangle on the border of any element. Very easy to do. We've got to do a bit of CSS for this today. So I've done a couple for you. Obviously we've got one here on the bottom, we've got one here on the right, and we've also got one that appears when you hover over it and changes color there. Like I say, got to do a bit of CSS for this today, but as usual, I'll put any code that I write down below the video. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. And once enabled, I'm going to go down and create a new row. Little green button to add a new row. I'm going to give mine 3 columns. I'm going to use a simple call to action of mine today. You can use any module that you want for this. Okay, let's just roll this up a bit. There's my little module right there. To do this, we're going to go over to the advanced, down to the custom CSS. You could use before, but today I'm actually going to use the after pseudo element right here. Okay, well let's write some code. First thing I want to do is just tell it that we're going to put some content there. So I'm going to say content, colon, and then open and close some inverted commas. Semicolon. Always put a semicolon after your little line of code. If you forget the semicolon, you won't read the next within an element. Okay, we've told it we're going to put something in there and we want it to stay where we put it at all times. So I'm going to say position, colon, absolute. At the moment I put it right on the bottom of the element, so I'm going to say bottom. Just a simple 0 right there. Now you won't be able to see anything until I start putting some colors in. I want it to be in the middle of our element right here. So I'm going to say left 50%. So it's going to be 50% from the left. Now it's going to have a bit of width and height to it. So we need to sort of move it half of its width and height so it's dead center. To do that, we're going to use transform translate. Translate, which means move basically. Put some round brackets on the end with no gap there. I'm going to say negative 50%. I actually only want to do this on the x-axis for this today. So I'm going to put a capital X on the end of translate. Like I say, you still can't see anything, obviously. I'm not going to give it any width or height, so I'm going to say width, because we'll actually be using the borders to build a triangle. And height, also 0. And here's where the borders come in. So I'm going to do a border left. I'm going to make mine 30 pixels. Obviously you adjust yours how you want to. So I'm going to say 30 pixels, solid. But I'm going to make it invisible, transparent. I want to make sure you spell things right with CSS or it's not going to work. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to do exactly the same for the right border. I'm going to put the left, I'm going to change that to a right. And for the top, I'm actually going to give it a color. So I'm going to paste that in there again. I'm going to change the left to a top this time. This time, let's give it a color. Should see it show up when I do this. I'll just say red. There it is right there. That's not where we want it. You may want yours inside. If so, just leave it there. I want it to be right at the bottom here. I know that's 30 pixels. So up here, I'm going to say negative 30 pixels, px. As you can see, that's popped it down to the bottom there. Great, well let's just match that color. I've got a color picker right here. Let's get that blue color. There it is. So I'm going to change that red to my nice blue that everything else is there by putting hashtag in and that hex code. And there we are, it's sitting on the bottom of our element. It's right in the middle, which is just where we want it. So there's how to put it on the bottom. I'm going to copy all of this now. And let's do one on the right hand side. And these things are great for flowcharts and things like that. So let's just save this. Again, we'll use another call to action module. Go in there straight over to the advanced. Let's move this out of the way. Custom CSS. I want to go in the after once more. I'm going to paste that in there. There it is. We want to flip this over to the right hand side perhaps this time. So because we're doing the side, I want to change that X to a Y because we're using a different axis there. Don't forget this code will be underneath the video. That's kind of messed it up a little bit. We've got to change things around here. So I'm going to say top. And this time I'm going to make that top 50% because I want it 50% down from the top. At the moment it's floating up there. So I'll just put 50% in there. And it's disappeared because it's blue on blue somewhere down here. It's probably right there. This time I'm going to make it right -30 pixels. Because again, we know it's 30 pixels tall. Change that top. I've got -50 instead of regular 50 in there. And there it is right there. But it's the wrong way around. So I'm going to change our borders here. Now the top, bottom. It's going to throw up a flag because we've got two tops. And I'm going to make my coloured one left border. And there we are. We've got our little triangle on the right side here. Like I say, that's great for flow charts and things like that. Fantastic. Well, let's do this one with a hover effect and have it change colour and appear just on hover. So again, I'm going to use a call to action module. And what I'll do is just simply copy the code from this one over here. In fact, let's just do this. It'd be easier to just clone it. I'll clone it with the two little squares, drag it over, drop it where you want it. But now I only want to see that on hover. So let's go in here. Go over to our advanced and custom CSS yet again. To only see it on hover, I'm going to add another line. I'm just going to say opacity 0, which is invisible. As you can see, or as you can't see because it's not there, it's gone. Now we want to bring it back when they hover over it. To do that, and this is common to all Divi modules, just hover over the dark writing of the element you want to affect, the after in our case. If there's a little arrow there, click on it. And we can set a desktop state when the mouse is not on it, and a hover state when the mouse is on it. When they put their mouse on it, I want to bring it back, so I'm going to say opacity 1, which is fully visible. As you can see, it's popped back. And just for a bit of fun, we can change color when we hover over it perhaps. So to do that, let's go back to our regular state. Here's the color that we see there. I'm just going to simply make it a red by copying it, Control C, going back over to the hover state, dropping down, and let's change that to just a plain red. Obviously you make yours whatever color you want. Now the time that it takes to go from there to there is going to be instant because we're using code here. I'm going to slow it down. I'm also going to change the background color of our element to match our little triangle there. So in the regular state, I'm going to go down and give it a transition duration. And it's prompted us down here. I'll pop that in. I'm going to make mine about half a second. So that's 0.5s. So that's now going to take half a second to fade in and change color there. I'm also going to go back into the content, the background, do exactly the same thing. I'll roll over the dark writing, hit the little arrow on hover. I'm going to change this background color to red. And they don't quite match. Let's see what the hex is for this one. Let's just get the reds matching there. I'm going to copy that hex code back over to our hover state over here. I'm going to put that hex code in there so they match. There we go, got matching reds there. And the last thing I want to do is I gave this a transform duration or transition duration of 1/2 second. The default Divi is just under 1/3 of a second, 300 milliseconds. To change that, let's close up our custom CSS, but still under the advanced. We can go down to transitions. There's the default 300. Let's change that to 1/2 second so everything fades in at the same time. And we should be good to go. Let's save our changes here. We'll save our page changes. Exit the Visual Builder. And there we go. We've got our little triangle on the bottom of that one, right side of this one. And when we hover over this one, it's going to turn red and our little triangle is going to feed in there. So I hope that's answered that question for you, and it's given you a few different options to play with. Don't forget the CSS code is down below this video for anybody who wants to copy and paste it, adjust it, make it your own. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you or make a demo video. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.